Got everybody here? Yeah. Alright, so start with the bench press, the setup work, and the lift off is important. I've seen a couple ways of setting up, it's up to you. Some people like to start close and get a little bit of arch and set their shoulders. I prefer to set my shoulders first. Which brings me to a point that I'm going to go over time and time again. Probably the most important tip I can give you guys is to retract your scapula when bench pressing. That'll protect your shoulders, cut down the range of motion if your objective is to increase your bench press max, and also you'll have more of a count.
Sorry, what's this? What's a scapula?
Alright, so that's your shoulder blades. You're going to pinch those together. So I like to set that first. Squeeze those together. And then keep my, I keep this a slight arch. Glutes are tight, my legs are straight. So again, to visualize that, that would be if my scapula was not shoulder. This is what we want to go for. Arch the middle of your chest, pull around the head too far, kind of wiggle it back and forth. I see a lot of times you'll have arch and bias. You'll start here. So when you get the position on the chest, you get the position on the bench, you get a lift off, you're going to pull the bar out. Very common that people stroke their shoulders while lifting them out. And as you can see right there, your shoulders aren't set. So I'm not sure how long you guys have been lifting for. You guys are mostly novices or some for a while? Yeah. Alright, well that's one common thing. So I would also like to stress that the technique's important. And you'll see that if you're having slight issues with it, if you kind of cut your weight down and work on getting the technique right, you'll see your bench jump up. So with the legs too, people have varying degrees of arches. Generally, if somebody has less of an arch, you're going to be a little bit more in front of you. Whereas if you have a higher arch, you don't want to pull them out just to keep your hips on the bench. Okay, so when you lift the bar off too, some more common flaws I see. So again, scapula's retracted. I see a lot of people holding the bar high in their fingertips. It's important, it's imperative that it's over the top of your wrist. It doesn't take much, you can just see if you're trying to push with a flexed wrist that you're going to lose a lot of power. And the other thing, and then you also want the bar to line up right above your elbows. And that's going to hold true as we start into the descent. The first thing you're going to want to do is rotate the elbows in just a little bit. That's going to help us keep our elbows tucked. And you're going to see the bars above my elbows the whole time. You'll occasionally see people lifting the elbows up. That will be very dangerous when you're rotated up. If anybody has any questions, just stop me.
I have a cool question.
Sure.
You said earlier that you want to pull the bar out. So does that, we have a squat racks in our gym, we don't have like a bench setup. So should we set the pins so that we're just like pulling it out instead of like pressing like a little bit of it out?
Yes, I mean you don't want to set the pins. That's a good question. You don't want to set the pins so that they're so well here that you can't pull it out. But if you have to extend your shoulders with a lift off, that pin setting's too high. That's really important. So try to keep that back. So we're going to start by initiating that elbow tuck, and you're going to want to visualize that you're bending the bar on the way down. On the way down, you're going to feel like you're bending the bar, and on the way up, you're going to feel like you're pulling a rope. That's something that you should think about. Also, on the way down, one thing I'm going to stress to you guys over and over again: to be a good bencher, you're going to have strong chest, but it's going to be a lot about your triceps and a lot about your back, your upper back, and your lats. So a lot of rowing is important to develop a strong bench. Again, back to my point about retracting the scapula, you're going to actually be driving with your lats against the bench. So on the way down, I would also like you to think, if you guys do a lot of rowing movements, you should keep your chest and your pushing muscles tight, and you should flare the lats and feel as if you're actually rowing as you're pulling the bar down to yourself. That'll give you a really powerful position for when you transition to the upward movement. protract your step really, and try and push up. You'll even see people move their legs or whatever they can to get into it. You want to feel as if you're pushing yourself into the bench. And if you can backtrack to the point with a leg drive, I've seen as a tip, people will tell you to get on the bench like this. Feel your legs pushing your upper back into the bench. And that's the position you want to be with your legs. That you're pushing force into your upper back. And so you're going to be pushing yourself away from the bar as opposed to trying to lift the bar up. Another tip too, squeeze the bar as hard as you can. That'll help activate the triceps. I like to think right from the bottom about trying to lock my elbows out. A lot of times I see people try and push the bar up, their elbows get a little bit too flared and out of position and they're stuck and they can't lock it out. So a lot of times that strong lockout comes from getting the bar fast off your chest and overcoming that sticking point. What questions we have? I feel like we kind of went pretty fast there. Yeah, sure. Well, most importantly, at the bottom, you want your forearm to be perpendicular to the ground. You don't want it to be too narrow. I mean, it's okay to do work like close grips. Close grips should be right around the seam part. A lot of people have an intermediate grip at arm's distance. I like to go around the ring finger. Some people go index finger. Again, you want to make sure that the wider, it's going to cut down your range of motion a little bit. So depends what you're training for. If you're looking to compete, you might want to try and bring it a little wider. You want at least, like I said, 90-degree angle at the bottom. You don't want your elbows pointed in. And regardless of your positioning, make sure your elbows are tucked in a little bit to keep them on the bar so that they don't flare up. Because that's a common issue that I see.
Would you mind demonstrating with some of our lifters?
Yeah, sure.
Just showing them how it goes. Anyone want to volunteer or? Huh? I guess I'll try. Chris, you want to film?
Cool.
Yeah. So this is my weakest lift. We'll see how it goes. So should I just try this out?
Yeah. Let's see what you can do.
I always have trouble keeping my scapula kind of mounted.
Yeah. Yeah, I see your shoulders came up a little bit. I would probably tell you to bring yourself closer
Okay.
to the bench.
And then should I try the thing with like the feet on the bench?
But that's what I like. I think it's up to the individual to find what works for them. I see a lot of people setting their feet first. Again, it's important that you get a nice tight leg drive. So from here, keep that pinched, and I'll give you a lift off. Like I said, pull that out.
His hands aren't perpendicular right now, so would you recommend a closer grip?
No, at least perpendicular.
At least, okay.
Yeah.
If they're too far, is there like a too far?
A little bit more into the palm. You know, it really, especially if you're getting into the competitive aspect of it, whatever, everybody's body type is different. You're taller, so it's probably a wider grip. Different federations, if someone's competing, have rules, I think.
Yeah, is there a certain distance?
Yeah, the USPL is the one that I've competed, and that's pretty, legitimate, not a lot of equipment, drug tested, and you have to cover the little rings, so you can't be past that.
Okay, so should I try? Should I just try to settle them this?
Yeah, I think the setup's important.
Okay, so if you don't mind walking me through it, do I plant my feet first?
Well, like I said, there's a couple different ways. I always set my shoulders first. I like to feel that. A lot of people that want to feel more leg drive. If you're going to plant your feet first, you want to start with your head up almost off the bench.
Okay.
So plant your feet, and then from there, push against the bar.
On my shoulders or arms?
Yeah, they're good. You want your shoulder blades to press too. So not high.
Okay.
And take a big air at the top in your belly. That should also lift your chest to the bar. So again, you want to feel like you're lifting your chest to the bar and rowing the bar into your chest. It'll minimize the difference. It'll protect your shoulder too. Now when that's loose, you're going to have to go back further and you're going to set yourself up for a huge run.
You think about it as if like your chest out?
Yeah, absolutely. Chest out, you know, that deep breath of air is going to kind of rotate your thoracic spine, give you a little bit of arch up there. Row that in. Any way you want to make your chest out. I like to squeeze the bar, relax into the bar.
Okay, cool.
Anybody else want to hop on it?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not an expert at all. So.
How do you be like angle between the
Yeah, pretty amazing. Like I said, you want to tuck it. You want to hit yourself. You know, different organizations have rules. Most of them will say kind of upper abdomen, if not sternum. So you can hit yourself. So, yeah. So lock out the elbows at the top.
I see. I got you.
Well, if you were to compete, you just have to tell them ahead of
Yeah.
and feel as if you're pulling your bar actually lift it up. You try to tuck it on one tilt. Yeah, pretty much your upper and your middle traps. A lot on your traps. If you want to think about that too.
Shoot my bust down.
Yeah. Try to widen your stance a little bit. How about that? Yeah. Try to pull them in towards the. This is kind of low bench too. Not Though working at the USAPL, you have to keep your head down. So, you know, pick a focal point or call for it. Don't lift your head. I've seen some other, I don't know how much research or you guys look into some of the powerlifting websites, but a lot of those guys with the bench shirts and stuff, they have some technique of kind of rolling your head down and throwing it in there. I want to dabble with any of that. Get yourself up a little bit higher. So, help us come out a little bit. We'll wind up here. Really work on that. Trying to squeeze your shoulders. Like I said, that's easiest on the bar still. And elbows kind of forward, so keep it right there. Yeah, right underneath the bar. So feel kind of weight of the bar. So it should feel like the bar's not going to roll backwards.
So where what was said, see where it was before.
Well, you were bringing the bar kind of low. And the elbow was coming up just a little bit. Subtle.
Yeah, could you show me the bar?
Is that where you usually hit yourself?
Yeah, that's how I usually do it.
So again, you're just like this. I think you can do that a little bit more. And when you're bringing it down, you bring it down a little bit low. The elbow is a little bit low. I bring it a little higher. The elbow is underneath the elbow. Okay. Any sort of force in this stretch is going to hit your rotator cuffs. Okay. What do you guys do with your shoulder set so far? Yeah, just keep it tight, nice and squeeze the shoulders. He's doing a pretty good job. Yeah, so that again, you want to avoid any force that's going to get that little rotation so that palms, the wrists, and the elbows are going to stay right underneath it, and you're going to want to just push it straight. A lot of people push it back and forth too much, but I would recommend a nice little straight extension.
You know how I was bringing it too low? Is there any tip you can give me to, way to think about it when you're doing it, or?
And put some chalk on the bar and see what hits you on your shirt. You know, I'd be just a little higher. Just again, trying to feel the weight and make sure that you don't feel any force
Yeah.
in that direction.
You're right though, so I did feel it.
Yeah, and try to
Yeah.
So just with your arms extended a little bit. Just with the bar. Go ahead. Other methods are repeated efforts, which you're most familiar with, I imagine, which is just lifting non-maximal loads to failure, so it's 5, 10, 15. And then a dynamic method, which means lifting a non-maximal load or throwing as fast as you can. And to this point, a lot of the powerlifting websites have run with this, and I'm not sure if you guys like research that at all, or you guys
like this.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that one, but there's like a West Side powerlifting.
Yeah,
Wang
of
is
course.
the strong lift expert.
Yeah, West Side Barbell, yeah.
Yeah, so they took that philosophy and they made their own program with that, and they use bands and chains. So I whipped them out. I don't know if you guys have any of them or if you dabble with them, but I thought it'd be cool to show you what they look like. So anyway, that's
I have a question. You said you talk about failure. Do you do all sets?
I do no sets to failure.
Yeah.
Never. Oh, I mean, never on purpose. Almost never. And I would really recommend that. Back to my point about lifting something that's too heavy. Now, failure means, if you're defining failure as not being able to do another repetition, that should be done frequently. But if you're defining it as needing a spot or having the bar off your chest, then I don't recommend that at all. Not only bad form, but you're not teaching your body how to do the movement better. So what's the point of this half rep? In my opinion, it only prevents you from recovering. You know, so do the best you can. Be ready for it. Be prepared. But that is a huge flaw that I see in people's trainings. In fact, a lot of times, if someone comes in, they want to get bigger and stronger, the first thing I do is have them do less. And maybe not in terms of weight, but less reps. You know, weight that they were messing around with for 12 reps and have them do 8 and have them work on doing it better. And they probably train too often with too many sets and exercising, they're going to failure. And then you back off a little bit and you encourage them to eat more. And then bam, they've made all this improvement. And it's really counterintuitive because most people think you have to work harder and harder, but it's not done by training to failure. I had, when I was at Penn State, we had this guy, Kurt Kowalski, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but they kept calling him Captain Kurt. He's one of the first guys to squat over 1,000 pounds. And this guy was crazy too. I mean, this guy was extreme. You could just see in his eyes. But anyway, one of the things that stuck with me was he told us, never miss a rep. So keep that in you and don't overexert in that respect. And usually when they say maximum weight, they mean above 90%. So even doing a heavy single or double, the weight's above 90% should suffice. So before I get into the bands and chains, I'll just go into a couple of different programming. I don't know what you guys are doing in terms of how you increase your weight or programming. But I just had a couple, I threw a couple down here. Again, the west side is popular powerlifting movement. We call it the conjugate method because they generally combine all three of those. They do the maximal lifting once a week for lower and upper body. And then they do a speed bag where they're generally using bands and chains, lightweight, doing it as fast as they can. And they also do the repeated efforts by doing assistance exercises, you know, maybe 80% for reps. That can be pretty taxing. You know, I was just reading something the other day against that the more American periodization approach is preferable if you're training the year round. So it's up to you guys, but it's one thing to think about. So that method that you're maxing out, doing the speed work, and doing the volume work in a week, that's a lot. So for a short period of time, that would probably work really well. But I always, advise trying different things. There's like the volume type of routines that you see a lot of the older facility type of routines, which are I think the Bulgarians used to do the weights 7 days a week for 4 hours. And so if you're going to do something like that, there's one online that I liked. You're benching sub-maximally though. You know, you're doing sets at 80% for triples, where you're probably doing 5 or 6 reps with 80%. But you might be doing that 5 or 6 times a week. So that can be effective. I generally would not recommend that for beginners or intermediate, more in the intermediate advanced. This is a lot of volume.
Do you have any experience with doing volume training?
Is that probably that?
It's like 10 sets of 10 reps. It's really so maximum.
With a lot of reps. Yeah, I mean, I guess I've tried that once or twice with squats, but generally if you want to get stronger, you want to be on the lower fiber last week. So, 10 sets is good if you're doing the triples. There's a couple recommendations out there on the internet. How many reps, especially the first relationship generally with how many reps sets you do. So singles you could do several sets. If you're going to do threes, several sets. Fives, maybe 5 to 6 sets. As you do more reps per set, you should probably do less. But you should always try different things. Again, a lot of times people do too many reps, and that's why you'll see gains in size, but not as much in strength. So a beginner can get by with anything, but as you get more advanced, you have to kind of choose which direction you go. The closer to the maximum weight you're going to get, the more efficient generally is going to be able to do strength. So progressive overload, I just threw there, just increasing the basic. I remember when I first started with powerlifting in college, one of the head coach, who was some other things started. Routines was just start with a weight that you can do 10 or 12 reps. You do 8, you do 3 or 4 sets of that, and every week you add 5% and do 3 or 4 sets until you get to the point where you can get 8, and then the following week you increase it again, but you cut the reps down to 5. So, you know, if you look at 10 or 12 week program where you go from 8 to 1 and you increase the weight incrementally, that's a basic system that works great for somebody who's done a lot of weight training. And then a repetition maximum of doing a week cycle to try and get to best set, best triple, best 5, best 8. Pushing those numbers up and push your max up. And that brings me to the periodization. The master cycle is like a 3 to 4 week program. And so that's what I like to tell people to think of. So any of these approaches, think about it for 4 weeks at a time and try it. You know, the resistance can be variable. I know USA weightlifting does some like a little zigzag with their intensity, which I like a lot, especially as you get, I guess you guys are all in your early 20s, right? When you get a little older, you're going to need more recovery time. You just can't hit it as hard. A deload week, I really recommend for people, especially as we get older. That's just a way of week. And I throw one of those in there every 4 weeks. So the sample progression there would be, if you were doing 5s, you would start the first week at 70% for 5. And then the second week at 75. And then the third week at 60. And that would be really easy. It's good for you to come in there, go through it, do it well, and then the fourth week at 80. And at that point, you should be kind of pushing your max. And if you look at it 4 week cycles, vary the intensity to try and maximize it. One way I like to think of this too is your objective is to prepare yourself to be stronger. So a lot of the times, you know, people come in and their training hasn't been going well, back to the instinctive ability to train through something. So approach it with, if I do this today, am I going to be better next time? You know, so once in a while it requires you to back off and say, hey, if I take it easy today, next week maybe I'll hit a better set. Because ultimately that's what you're striving for. You know, and if I'm going at it today, your shoulders are a little sore, you beat yourself up. I'm worse off next week. So a lot of times it requires that. So, and just some tips I throw in about the bench press. Make sure you're really warmed up first, especially rotator issues. You do rotator cuff advance. Good. Again, fix the technique before you keep pushing it. Focus on speed. Regardless of the weight, do it as best you can and as fast as you can. Work on accelerating that bar. I really believe people ask me all the time, what speed should they do? Should I do this? And if you're a middle-aged person that wants to be toned and have a low risk of injury, then do it slow. But if you're trying to get stronger, do it as fast as you can. With good form, you know, that has to be controlled. If you go so sloppy that you're out of your groove, then that does work quick. But when you're doing it, try and accelerate the bar because that's the way you can put more force on the bar when you set maximum weight.
It's slower.
What's that? It's going to be a little slower, but you want to work on getting the lower and faster. You get some stretch reflexes working there, so it should be a controlled descent, but it shouldn't be slow. It wastes too much effort. Even then, I don't recommend really slow. You should have a little bit of less. Again, track this out there, I can't stress that enough. Do a lot of back exercises. Balance, everything you press and like that. Squeeze the bar hard, that'll help get the triceps into it. Train your triceps and stay tight too. Especially close to max. Big breath of air at top. If you have any heart issues, talk to a doctor first. But by holding your breath, that's called Valsalvic maneuver, increases blood pressure, also increases stabilization, and will make you a little bit stronger. So, suck some air in the belly at the top, keep it tight, help you stabilize. So, what questions, and then I'll show you guys what the
You're holding that breath in.
I am.
Yeah.
I will probably, if I'm doing sets of 3, I'll hold it for all 3. If I'm doing 5, I might get a quick one now and then. So, you don't want to hold it for 8 or you're going to pass out. So, tighten over here, and get a little go. Go
Okay. Do you have experience with like coming back from injury and stuff?
Somewhat. I mean, what's the issue?
Well, personally, I don't have any, but just for like posterity. Let's say you injure a rotator cuff or a shoulder or something, and you're trying to come back. Would you recommend a certain kind of program or like a certain rehab work or?
Well, you would have to consult your doctor, your physical therapist. You know, everybody should proactively be doing the rotator cuffs, internal, external rotation. Everybody does this. Just grab the band.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you that same question. Like, what if you had 5 minutes, something like that, before every workout to warm up? Like, what would be things to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
10 or
run around. Yeah, 5.
How much?
Yeah, maybe 10. Good 10. I mean, you should be warm. Get yourself sweaty. Do something that's somewhat aerobic, out of breath. And I like external. Keep your elbow tight. A lot of times I recommend the towel there. External rotation, internal rotation. You can do sort of base pull. That's good too. Really anything with the band. You know, my elbows get a little tricky, so I'll just do a tricep extension. I like bands for injuries. They're really good. You know, you would have to know the details of the specifics of the injury, what the person can or can't do. Bands are really good for injuries, though, for any type of movement because of how they apply force. Any other questions?
I get on there.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just quick before you do. If you're doing push-ups, which is kind of the same, constant bench press, do you also have the same kind of like chest out mentality and the whole?
Yeah,
all
the
chest
scapular
fly
back
out?
too. Yeah, you'll see that a lot. That people bench press with their shoulders rotated forward. You want to keep that up. Pretty good. I think it looks pretty good. If you were to compete, you have to, in the USA PL, you have to keep your feet flat. Other organizations, you don't. You want to feel like you're driving through your heels, though. Your traps. Pretty good.
Yeah. Anyone else? Because this is like a great opportunity for everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, professional give you tips.
Yeah, you
Forward.
get the bars a little bit in front of you. So try and get the elbows underneath it a little bit.
Yeah, higher in the chest.
Keep the weight more on your, a little bit more on your traps. Just go with it. So you can see at the top here, still it's not always a little bit too far out. Yeah. And your bar's almost the opposite way in your wrist. Try and flex your wrist just a little bit. Up the other way. Yeah, just a little bit. And again, at the top, the shoulders are up a little bit. Try and push yourself into the bench, not try and throw the bar up.
He's pushing it too far forward, right? Like down on the thigh.
Well, the weight's in his thumb, which
Yeah.
I don't like.
Again, just keep an eye on that. It looks like the bar's kind of falling a little bit too far this way. You can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Right.
Try to bring it down in a straight line.
It-
You see how it's much
Pinch your shoulder blades together. Pull row the bar into your chest, lifting the chest up.
Maybe have the bar descend higher on your chest, like
Yeah, a little bit
up.
higher.
Yeah.
Work on that. Try and feel the top of your shoulder blades a little bit more to the bench too. Yeah, it looks like it's falling that way. So keep the elbows tucked a little bit. Just lower it a little bit higher. Keep your elbows up. Don't let them pop up.
Come on.
Big breath. Try and bring that chest up to there. There you go. There you go.
Yep.
See the difference? Good. Keep the chest up. Better. Keep working on it though. It's going to be inconsistent at first.
Just like that?
Yeah, it's better. Again, push yourself into the bench. Now throw your shoulders up.
Yeah. It's freaking arms are so long.
And that chest out tip is a fundamental tip for many different exercises, right? Like when you're doing rows or when you're doing back exercises,
Yeah.
you always want to have that kind of chest out.
Yeah, rows.
It got better.
You see a lot of people with pull-ups. Try to rotate forward. That's terrible on your rotator cuff. You know, if you're doing a pull-up, drive the elbows down, shoulders back. I mean, I can't say for everything, but for a lot. Yeah. Good. Watch the lift off. The lift off. The shoulders rolled up a little bit. Good. I'll tuck a little bit. There you go.
Yeah.
It might be uncomfortable at first, but
Try the lift up.
Yeah.
yeah, so get tight, do the lift off again.
Shoulders.
Yeah, now try and keep that shoulder. Yeah, don't lift those shoulders up too much.
He lifted it again, right?
Yeah. Yeah, just pull it out horizontally, maybe.
Like it's not gonna be,
Yeah.
it's not gonna be perfect. It's something to get. Yeah, you want to
arms
keep
are
that
not
back
good
and
length.
pull it
Yeah.
out, not lift it up.
Yeah.
Good, so that's not bad. And that probably won't even get you until you're lifting weight that's on the heavier end.
Yeah.
I see people in the gym put their feet up on the bench, and I've done that myself
Bench.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're not doing really high weight for it, but is there any benefit to that other than?
Just save your back, you know, a little large or something. You're throwing too much of your back into it. You know, you could get a little tightness there. So generally, people, I'd advocate feet on the bench if you have back issues that prevent you from bench pressing. It's going to make it harder, so you're not going to be able to lift as much. Put more emphasis on your upper body. Another good exercise, if you wanted to do that, would be a floor press. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've seen that, where you just
Elbows a little closer.
bench press on the floor. But you know, if
He's
your
flaring out a
objective is
lot.
to lift
Yeah.
more weight, then just flex your wrist just a little bit. You want it, yeah, through your wrist, not to come in front of it. And I would grip it a little wider too. You're a little narrow there. You don't want your elbows right against your sides. That'll make it a little more difficult. And you want to bring that bar a little lower towards your sternum. See, that's better. You can see in the first couple sets, the bar was a little bit in front.
It wasn't above your elbows before, but
Yeah, you can kind of see at the bottom when the elbow stays. And when it comes too far, or it's too far.
Did you want to do the band?
Yeah. Just
going heavy for it.
Yeah.
There's different resistance for bands too. And you're going to have to be imaginative how you hook them up, how long they are. This is what I find based on some of the bands we have. I loop it underneath one of the dumbbells, and loop it through one dumbbell under the other. And go on the edge of the bar. So all the benches are different. This is what I found works best to give me the appropriate tension for us. So whenever you're doing the speed day, you want to stay tight. You want to as fast as you can. It provides more tension to the range of motion. You want the band set up relatively to where you're going to be hitting on your chest, not too far. Either direction.
So you were talking about like your rep speed there. When I'm doing 3s and 5s, I'm not exploding like that. Like
for speed day or for so generally I use the bands for when I'm doing a routine that has speed day. And I would recommend starting off with about 50% of maximum weight and do it as fast as you can.
what if you're doing like 5 rep max? Like I grind those reps out.
Yeah, that wouldn't be on your speed day. Now you do a max or max work with the bands, and that'll be slower. I like to do the bands on a speed day to get back to that other method of having a fast day. And I would recommend using, again, starting with a weight around 50%, somewhere between 40 and 60, and as fast as you can. And if it's easy and you can do a little more and go at the same velocity, then that's okay. Once you add enough weight that you're not going at maximum velocity, then that's too much for the speed day. So you can also get a little creative. So these routines that have, the West Sides that have the max days and the speed days, they don't max the bench press once a week. In fact, they'll rarely max the bench press. They have different exercises, 4 presses, 4 presses. Maybe they would use the bands. So one week they would come in and they would do a max with the bands, and next week a floor press, and the following week one would change. So they get creative that way. I would work with what's simple first. Get as good as you can, and then get creative to how you can improve from there. So, anybody want to try that? Or?
This?
Yeah.
I'll try it.
Yeah.
Then I'll show you how I set the chains up.
Yeah.
Yeah, just as you would normally with the bench.
So is it West Side that likes the banded work?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the Strong lifts has.
No. It's more of a beginner program.
Yeah, West Side's a little more.
And if I'm doing speed work, I'm never doing more than 3 at a set. You have to be fast, not to tire yourself out.
How long of a rest would you take? Do you have a constant rest, or?
During a speed workout, 30 seconds, a minute, maybe or less. But generally, if you're improving strength, a few minutes. That's another variable that you can play around with. If somebody wants to get bigger or your muscle mass, that's a little bit less rest. Your objective strength, then 2 or 3 minutes, 5, maybe longer if you're doing a heavy set, a max squat. As needed, you don't want to get cold though. But those are different variables that you can play around with.
Yeah, my varsity football coach at my high school used to say, less than 1 number.
Okay.
That's the personal goal.
Yeah, if I was coaching football, I would say something similar to what they do in a game. So you're working for 5 seconds at a time, and then you're resting 40 seconds. So that I would probably set it depends on the objective. So if I was training a football player, I'd say, give me two power cleans or 3 power cleans, and we're gonna rest 45 seconds and do it again, because it's what your sport is. And so if you think of lifting as a sport, then you have time in between sets. You want to be able to lift maximum weight. Anybody else want to try this before I show you the chains?
Sure.
It's not raw. It adds some resistance to it.
You want to try it?
My housemate has bands, so I'll try it later today, probably.
Okay.
David has bands.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Chris.
I guess we'll try. Why not?
Here we go, Mike.
I'm sorry. Here you go. Take your time. Roll it up. Good. A little off center.
Is that why you were kind of rolling?
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw
probably. Is there a good cue to keep your scapula retracted? Because I always have trouble with that whenever.
Yeah, I mean, you seem to be doing a good job. Again, pinch the shoulder blades, row it in.
Okay.
Try to bend the bar, that'll help.
Okay.
And yeah, just focus on it.
Okay. Thanks.
And try and pull your chest to the bar. That's something else to think about. If you're pulling your chest to the bar, you're trying to see how good. You look pretty good.
Okay.
For me, thinking like chest out helps a lot.
Okay.
It's like that's the most like natural thing. Instead of thinking out the back squeezing, bring chest out, back kind of it's out.
Cool. Thanks. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'm good on it.
Alright, well, this is how I set up for the chains. So these are the chains we have.
That like changes weight as you're going up, right?
Yeah, similarly to the dance. So it makes it more challenging through the range of motion. I use a step here. What I'm trying to focus on, and I've heard different things, but what I believe is that I want to take advantage of the chain, so I want to unload it load it at the top and unload it at the bottom. So meaning as much as I can, I want a big discrepancy between the top and the bottom. This allows you, this is more so than the bands, because the bands will accelerate as you pull down, so it'll make the eccentric part, which is lowering the weight, more challenging. But the chains will make it will feel more challenging towards the lockout, which is good because that part of the motion, you're a little stronger, so you don't need as much work. So, I use a step here so you can see that.
That's a cool idea.
Chains are barely touching at the bottom.
I have the medal Chris gave me.
Send me in. Still working with you?
These were here when I got here, so can't tell you where I got this one. Yeah, I know you can get one.
Navy something.
Yeah. John, like a shipyard or like a junkyard.
So,
Public funding, sir.
so the same thing here. Change a little bit more. Anybody wants to try that? I guess.
Yep.
Well, is that something you would do if you stalled at lockout?
Well, so there's lots of reasons that you're stalling at lockout. Bad form's probably number one. Not get moving it fast enough off the chest. But yeah, this would probably help too.
Could you talk about
Because yeah, it'll make it more.
how could you improve if you failed at chest?
Is that?
What like exercise would you recommend if you're failing at chest? Like
Yeah.
triceps?
Again, the most important thing is to get your technique better. So, and yeah, just keep benching. Work on pushing it faster. I mean, most powerlifters, I guess, will tell you bench press and do it better. But yeah, get creative. Try different things. This would be good. It couldn't hurt helping with your lockout. Yeah.
That felt pretty good though. I like how it changes as you're going. It's like very dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ben, is it anywhere as loud like next to the bench as it sounds in the room? Yeah.
It's good because you can't hear yourself cry.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, right? Feels good.
So just another tool to use.
And are these, so if we do a membership here, we can, this is like open?
Not up here. The chains are downstairs. These bands are mine. I know you can get bands on the internet. If I'm here, I don't have a problem with using them.
These chains are.
The chains are in that heavyweight room back down there. And the bands are all over the internet too. If you want to purchase them, bring them in. Like I said, I have these. And another trainer that I use, his are thicker.
Anyone else want to try? Or, no. Frank? All right. Do you mind holding this?
Yeah, I got it.
Let me give it a shot.
Do it, Mike.
Might as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Feels cool, right? It's like changes.
Yeah, I would again try and get success using like normal methods first, and then traditional. Yeah. Shoulders tucked. Little arch there. Get your shoulder blades together, move the chest up. Big bar should probably up a little more. There you go.
So they say for the bench, it's like for powerlifting, it's like a whole body lift. For your legs, are you just driving your traps into the bench? Is there something else you should be doing, or is that?
No, yeah, I mean, that's what you should be thinking about. Driving through your heels and pushing your chest into the bench, back into the bench. I mean, you should get some pounds off your legs.
Okay. And if your butt starts to come off, what's that mean? Does that mean?
Wider legs.
Yeah, try wider legs. Try and keep your glutes tight.
Okay.
Practice keeping them down. I mean, you're trying to throw yourself into a more natural. You have better leverage if you're pushing at that angle. So. Sure. I got my email down there if anybody has any questions.
Mm-hmm. I guess if you're stalling on, let's say, bench and your other two powerlifts are, I guess, relatively better, would you recommend like a cycle just specifically focusing on it? Maybe like a small lob or something?
Changing what you're doing,
mm-hmm.
you know,
right.
Have this approach, try another one. I recommend doing that preemptively,
mm-hmm.
but you know, you switch to benching Mondays as opposed to Tuesdays or whatever days you're benching.
Okay.
You know, I've done routines benching once a week to benching several times a week, so
mm-hmm.
you can play around with that too.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of variables go into that. How experienced are you? What have you been doing?
Mm-hmm.
Let's try something different.
Right. Okay.
That might mean more. That might mean less frequently.
Mm-hmm.
You benching 3 times a week and not getting anywhere. You might want to cut it down.
Okay. Makes sense.
Cool. Well, we
cool.
appreciate the
yeah. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So should I speak to you about like, the group rates and all that, or is that Mike?
Yeah, probably Mike.
Maybe I'll talk to him here now.
I don't
If you email us.
You'll find out at the desk.
I have his number and emails.
Yeah, what are you guys looking to do?
We can, I don't know, we have to talk as a group and see what everyone thinks, but
mm-hmm.
I'm thinking even, is there an exercise that we haven't done yet that we would want another one of these?
Oh, in the future?
So we did squat, we did deadlift.
I mean, we could always do more work, but right. The Olympic lifts might be cool, but I don't know how many people are interested in that.
Yeah, I've never done that, but
yeah.
it's interesting. I see people in the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've experienced that too. So.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think we should talk as a group, in a club meeting, and then we'll
right.
see.
Yeah, you can consult with me too if you know what I can help you guys with. I don't know if any of you guys want to train for a powerlifting meet, but We could set up some like somewhat infrequent consultation to get you ready for a meet or whatever. Or training several of you guys once or twice
Cool.
a month.
Yeah.
And then maybe hit all 3 lifts or whatever if it's on a Sunday. Probably
Right.
be allowed to come up here. Otherwise, depending on how many people, there's a heavyweight down there. So yeah, copy me on the email and make it around.
Yeah.
Let me know what you think.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks a lot. Yep. That's awesome.